sense the urgency and the acknowledgement of the economic challenges and resistance to proposed solutions by various stakeholders. However, I want to emphasize that we are now at a turning point, and the bold reforms underway across different segments of the economy, though initially challenging, are aimed at addressing these challenges sustainably. And really, I would like to emphasize the word sustainably. I'm confident that positive outcomes are already emerging and will become more apparent in the near future. The dedicated and relentless efforts being made are certain to bring about significant and positive changes for our economy. On that note, distinguished members, I'm happy to inform you that as at yesterday, the volume of transactions on our market was over $800 million. This is the first time in many years that it has achieved this level. Notably, recent reports from international rating agencies such as Fitch, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and commendations from multilateral banks like World Bank reflect this positive trajectory, with upgrades to Nigeria's rating from stable to positive. These reports acknowledge the potential reversal of the deterioration in the country's fiscal and external position due to the authorities' reform efforts. While recognizing the painful adjustments, these all point to a direction that will unlock much-needed growth and development for our economy in the medium to long term. Honorable members, I acknowledge that despite these commendations, the concerns regarding the cost of living and currency rates remain. Indeed, this is the major topic of concern in our villages, our towns, and our cities. The urgency of the matter is not lost on us at the Central Bank, and I really want to assure you that we're working tirelessly with colleagues from across government, including with the leadership of this House, to bring lasting solutions. Given that this will be the first time I'll be before this esteemed body this year, 2024, please permit me to just very briefly provide you with what we consider our outlook for 2024. Global outlook. I will not bore you with too much of those details, given the time challenge, but I'll conclude in saying that globally, the landscape continues to be very challenging, and that key policy priorities involve ensuring durable inflation reduction, addressing fiscal pressures, and fostering sustainable and inclusive growth. The global monetary policy environment is expected to remain restrictive until sustained inflation reduction becomes evident. Obviously, that has huge repercussions for us in Nigeria. Governments around the world must grapple with rising fiscal pressures, necessitating credible medium-term fiscal frameworks to effectively manage debt burdens. On the domestic outlook, which I know is very important to all of us, we know and remember that the federal government of Nigeria anticipates a 3.76% real GDP in 2024, slightly surpassing the estimated 3.75% in 2023. This optimism is backed by key government reforms and the expectation of improved crude prices and production, which are set to drive economic growth. Inflationary pressures are expected to decline in 2024 due to the CBN's inflationary targeting policy, aiming to rein in inflation to 21.4%, aided by improved agricultural productivity and easing global supply chain pressures. The Nigerian foreign exchange market is currently facing increased demand pressures, causing a continuous decline in the value of the naira. Factors contributing to this situation include speculative forex demand, Inadequate forex supply due to non-remittance of crude oil earnings to the CBN, increased capital outflows, and excess liquidity from the fiscal activities. The shift to a market-driven exchange rate was intended to create a stable macroeconomic environment and discourage currency hoarding. However, short-term volatilities attributed to arbitrage and speculation have been an issue. To address exchange rate volatility, a comprehensive strategy has been initiated to enhance liquidity in the forex markets, and I made reference to the outcome of that earlier. This includes unifying FX market segments, clearing outstanding FX obligations, introducing new operational mechanisms for BDCs, enforcing the net open position limits, and adjusting the remunerable standard deposit facility cap. Honorable members, we understand the economic costs of these developments, not just for the economy, but also as they affect ordinary Nigerians. However, as I mentioned in previous engagements, these costs are temporary, and our decisions will address a lot of fundamental issues bothering Nigeria's macroeconomic landscape. Honorable members, these measures aimed at ensuring a more market-oriented mechanism for exchange rate determination will boost foreign exchange inflows, stabilize the exchange rate, and minimize its pass-through to domestic inflation. On the exchange rate, permit me to say that, put simply, the exchange rate is determined by the dynamics of supply and demand for a product or service. In essence, similar to the pricing of cows or cars, the value of the US dollar in Nigeria is determined by the balance of US dollars entering the country and the demand for US dollars amongst Nigerians. Applying this demand and supply principle, let's examine how the exchange rate has performed in recent years. The exchange rate in Nigeria has increased or depreciated due to the simultaneous occurrence of two factors: a decline in the supply of US dollars coinciding with a surge in the demand for US dollars. Looking at the demand side of the exchange rate, it's important to note the growing number of Nigerian students studying abroad. In 1980s and 1990s, the need for US dollars for their living expenses was minimal. However, recent data shows a significant change. According to UNESCO's Institute of Statistics, the number of Nigerian students abroad increased from less than 15,000 in 1998 to over 71,000 in 2015. By 2018, the figure had reached 96,702 students, as per the World Bank. Another report projects the number of Nigerian students studying abroad to exceed 100,000 by 2022. Additionally, the UK's Higher Education Statistics Agency noted a 64% increase in Nigerians studying in the country, rising from 1,320 in 2019-2020 academic session to 21,305 by the 2020-2021 session. Given this data, it is crucial to highlight that between 2010 and 2020, foreign education expenses amounted to a substantial $28.65 billion, as per the CBN's publicly available balance of payments statistics. Similarly, medical treatment abroad has incurred around $11 billion in costs during the same period. Consequently, over the past decade, foreign exchange demand for education and healthcare has totaled nearly $40 billion. Notably, this amount surpasses the total current foreign exchange reserves of the CBN. Mitigating a significant portion of this demand could have resulted in a considerably stronger naira today. On the supply side of the exchange rate, to bolster the inflow of US dollars into a country, the economy must earn these dollars through exports, whether oil or non-oil, or by attracting foreign investments. A robust economic foundation is essential to produce goods and services that the global market is willing to pay for in US dollars. When the supply surpasses demand, the exchange rate appreciates, causing the price of the dollar to fall. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the contrary has taken place. Regrettably, over the past 12 years, our oil exports constituted over 90% of our foreign exchange revenues and have declined from $93.89 billion in 2011 to $31.4 billion in 2020. From the aforementioned points, we can infer that the genuine issue impacting the exchange rate is the simultaneous decrease in the supply and increase in the demand for US dollars. It also seems that the task of stabilizing the exchange rate, while an official mandate of the CBN, would necessitate efforts beyond the bank itself and indeed to an attitudinal change of all our citizens. My concluding remarks, and I know I'm pressed for time, honorable members, my team and I are dedicated to refocusing the bank by giving primacy to price stability. We also aim to build confidence in the Nigerian economy through the maintenance of stability in consumer prices and the foreign exchange market. We are aware that the twin challenges of inflation and exchange rate depreciation on our economy are daunting. However, they are not insurmountable. Monetary policy actions are sometimes inhibited by transmission lags. Nonetheless, it is expected that the policy measures implemented by the bank will permeate the economy in the short to medium term.
Just one more minute, sir.
Inflation pressures may persist, albeit temporarily, but are expected to moderate significantly by the fourth quarter of 2024. Exchange rate pressures are also expected to reduce with a smooth functioning of foreign exchange market. We are committed to implementing policies that will ensure a stable macroeconomic environment and guarantee improved livelihoods for all Nigerians. Thank you for your attention, honorable members.
Thank you very much. I think the Deputy Whip was carried away with your fantastic presentation. Well equipped. Let me start by inviting Honorable Ali Issa Jesse, Dr.
Constituency of Kano State. My question to the CBN governor, of recent, you have moved some department to Lagos, and a lot of people in the country were shouting. Why? Because this department have been in Abuja for over 20 years. No CBN governor has thought of moving it to Lagos. But when you came in, you decided to move those departments to Lagos. Some people felt the movement has a sectional agenda. Can you explain to the House why you move those units to Lagos, bearing in mind that those units or departments have been operating very well in Abuja without any complaint or any comes from any quarters?
Thank you.
I think Nigerians need to know.
Thank you.
My second question, in your submission, you said the exchange rate difference we are having is because of school fees being paid of students and medical expenses. Are you trying to tell Nigerians today, here and now, that between May 29 to date, our medical expense and foreign student has increased by 100% because the dollar, you met it at 750. Today, I don't want to even call how much is the dollar. We should know, you here are the managers of the economy. The president uses you to run the economy. Our economy We must say this government made it on its knees. Today, it has collapsed. The purchasing power of the common man is zero. Salaries, some people earn salary of less than 30,000 naira. They cannot feed their family for 2 days. Nigerians are...
So what is your question?
Nigerians are shouting.
Straight to the question.
What are you doing to bail Nigerians out of this serious problem, economic problem we are facing? These are my questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't worry, from the front row, we are coming back after the leaders.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. I remain Honorable Abdullah Ibrahim Halims. I am from Kogi State and I represent the good people of...
Speak to the mic. They want to hear you.
I represent the good people of Ankpa, Omala, Lamaboro, Federal Constituency. I am from Kogi State. My question is directly to the governor of our Apex Bank. Mr. Governor, sir, the CBN is the controlling bank as far as our economy is concerned. I want you to tell us how this CBN must demonstrate as a matter of policy that it controls monetary side of the economy. How can the CBN ensure it provides clear and dependable forward guidance for inflation that has eaten deeply into the economy today? How has it controlled interest rates that has gone up far above 21% today? We have understanding that, yes, the interest rate will drop as far as the economy is in a workable condition. Today, the exchange rates have gone beyond imaginable rates to the best of everybody's understanding. I want you to demonstrate that, yes, you are in charge of this Apex Bank that determines the flow of economy. Thank you. That's my question, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is on CBN. In our country today, the value of naira has progressively declined from a state of concern to a state of fear and panic. But the value of other currencies across Africa have been largely stable. How do we reconcile their realities with Nigerian reality? Thank you so much. That's my question.
Thank you. Let me put this parliamentary time. Let me hear from Honorable Satomi.
Another federal constituency. My question is to the CBN governor. In line with the recent pronouncement of Mr. President that all oil revenues should be remitted to the CBN, I would like to know, does that go with gas revenue as well, which NNPC owes a substantial percentage of stake in the NLNG, and CBN as well? What measures are being put in place for the revenues from solid minerals not to have the same leakages that necessitated the pronouncement that all oil revenues should be going to the CBN? And same thing about the solid minerals. What's your plan for increase in solid minerals revenues so that it will not be solely dependent on oil revenue? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Goes to the CBN governor. Mr. Governor, a lot of school of thought in Nigeria believe that the pressure on FX is not necessarily from productive activities like trading, importation of goods and services, but rather, a lot of people now prefer to store their...
Speaking to the mic.
A lot of people now prefer to keep their funds in foreign exchange. And some of them also coming from corruption. The other day I was watching one of the other channel on one of the television, and they said that each time that allocations are given to the states and all that, if you go to,
what is your question?
The dollar will become scarce. So what are you doing as the CBN governor to check such anomaly? Thank you.
Thank you. You know, we will have to ask straight so that
Mascot Ikweche, and I represent the indomitable people of Aba North and Aba South in this venerable assembly. My question to the CBN governor, it is clear knowledge that the foreign exchange forwards you've started clearing, you've begun to clear those things, the backlog of the foreign exchange forwards. That's quite commendable. But out of curiosity, would like to know or ascertain the specifics where the inflows is coming from that you're using to clear these backlogs. And also, as the economic surgeon of this nation, I am sure you do know that it doesn't take deep intuition or intense clairvoyance to understand that without constant electricity, that this country can never become industrialized. So my question to you is this: what are the measures being taken to capacitate Nigerians to be able to produce for export so as to strengthen our currency? So what is the measure that is being taken to resolve that problem expeditiously? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
is that for the CBN governor?
CBN governor. One is on the issue of lifting of forex to about 43 items, which was restricted on the 23rd June 2015 of the previous administration with the intention at reducing foreign exchange demand for products that could be locally produced and improve employment generation and conserve our foreign reserve. But surprisingly, on the 12th of October 2023, our President CBN governor lifted that restriction. The question is, did you lift this restriction like you have released on your website in order to give forex for importers to import meat, processed meat, wheelbarrows, rice, cement, poultry products? These are things that we produce locally in this country. What is the economic rationale in giving our forex, our scarce forex that you are struggling even to get, to middlemen to import these things? We need better explanation to that. Now, the second question: what is the CBN doing to develop a system that will engender professional conduct by the key players in the forex exchange ecosystem of this country in order to guarantee market forces determine exchange rate on the willing buyer and willing seller principle? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I like your question. Is just straight to the point, and I really appreciate it. Honorable Jafaru. No.
In this country, would you recommend or have you identified any legislative intervention that will be required to strengthen your collaboration between the CBN and other fiscal authorities to ensure that we salvage our ailing situation? And also, I want to know if you are aware of the dollar subsidy, and if so, have you done anything to curtail it, or have you halted it? Thank you very much.
Let us have Honorable Saidu Musa Abdullahi. A full day section with you. To be honest, this short time is not enough, and we have not even started with Ministry of Finance, which I know will be very few. As a coordinating minister, I don't think it will be as much as this one on CBN. Okay, please make it straight to the point so that others can ask. Members who are leaving, your name might be called to ask your question. Make sure you stay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Said Musa Abdullahi. I represent the people of Bida, Gbakokacha Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Niger State.
Zachary, approach the chair.
Mr. Governor, development finance initiatives are one of the ways through which the central bank will intervene in ensuring price stability in the economy. Over the years, especially during the last administration, CBN targeted the agricultural sector for various interventions, and as flawed as the implementation processes were, that brought about some level of price stability and enhanced productivity in the economy. Mr. Governor, what is the plan of the present management in sustaining, albeit in a reformed way, such interventions to the agricultural sector? The Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning did mention in the course of his presentation that there is a drive to enhance domestic production capacity. And I feel one of the sectors that we can quickly target is the agricultural sector, especially if we look at it from the point of investment in infrastructure, irrigation infrastructure across the country. Can the CBN come with a reformed way of pushing out these interventions, leaning on existing structures like the development banks, the Bank of Industries, and Bank of Agri? My second question.
One is enough.
This is very important.
So that others can ask.
This is very important.
Don't explain the question, just one line. Don't explain the question.
There are certain provisions of the CBN Act, especially those relating to the bank's advances to federal government, the Ways and Means window, which from all indications have become stale. If you look at the limit of the advances, the repayment structure, and the repayment time frame, given our present realities, you appreciate that some of those provisions have become stale and requires amendment. I know how the bank jealously guards its act, but given our experiences in the last administration and currently,
what is your question?
We should review those provisions as far as the Ways and Means are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Abajide, after you, the man with the white cap, the beautiful cap, the best white cap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Straight to the point.
My name. Honorable,
yeah, we are coming to the woman.
I represent the good people of Yagba Federal Constituency. I'm from Kogi State. Mr. Governor, what is CBN that is been changing from time to time, second per second, leading to galloping inflation that we are witnessing today? And coming to the supply side, what is the CBN doing on exported cargoes going now without non-NSP? I mean, without NSP going out to foreign country and the proceed is not coming back to the country.
Thank you very much. So we'll come to this place. Over to you, Honorable.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. My question is very straightforward. In June 2023, in June 2023, 1.134 trillion was declared as revenue by FAC. In July, 1.959.36 trillion was also declared. In August, 1.89 trillion was declared, and in September, 1.48 trillion was declared. In October, 1.59 trillion was declared, and in November, 1.088 trillion was declared.
So what is the question?
I'm coming, please, my speaker. I'll go to the question. In December, 1.12 trillion was also declared, and in January, 1.1 trillion was declared. We have enough revenue compared to our neighboring countries, even down to Central Africa. But today, from your report, only 38% of this revenue, in line with the forex, is being put into business transactions in this country. About 62% of these revenues, especially those that are tied to the foreign exchange, that's the forex, they are not being into business transactions. We are here discussing about policies, while the main point is corruption. People have been mopping dollars in Nigeria through transfers to those people that are in the business. And CBN, I'm sure with the system you have, you are seeing all these transactions going on in this country. And this fear has been raised by international organizations, including the World Bank and IMF, to you, and you are aware that if care is not taken, even if you injected $1 trillion into the economy, within 3 months, those money would disappear. It will not be in the banks. It will not be with you people at the CBN. It will be stuck into people's houses. And you are aware of all these things. Nigerians are fighting back now, if you don't know, where they are representatives. We must speak. And you must do the job. If you are not ready, you resign. I'm sorry to say
Just ask your question.
No.
Don't attack. Excuse me, honorable colleague.
Today, let me finish. I'm protected by you, sir. Okay, let me ask my question.
My protection is only to the extent of asking the question.
Let me go ahead, please, to ask the question.
Yes.
My constituents, in particular, there was a serious protest even yesterday.
Question.
Because they have money to buy food, but they cannot see the food. They cannot see maize to buy. Because neighboring countries have trooped into this country because of the weakness of our naira, and they bought all the food items we have. They are exporting it to Niger, Chad, Cotonou, and Central Africa, which they don't have these revenues that we are generating. So what are you doing, please, the CBN governor? This is a serious matter. People have been talking about policy to address this matter at hand before it gets out of hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next will be Minister of Finance, so get ready with your questions.
Mark Eset is my name, representing Uyo, Oran, Senatai, and Ibesipotu and Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State. The CBN governor, 2 questions in one. Number one, this issue of Sunday debit in Nigerians' accounts every Sunday with the hardship being experienced, what is it for? It's not done by the banks, it's a directive from the federal government. Sunday debit. 2, with all the questions, you can see the temper, the interest of members being expressed in the questions. In one specific statement, I want you to tell Nigerians when the renewed hope and the promised hope will be felt in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was
interrelate. And of course, some of them really don't relate to the central bank. I think we're at the stage today where everybody believes that central bank has the answer to all the problems. I would perhaps again just reiterate something that I think is very, very important. And that is to say that over the recent past, we find that a lot of the measures that have been rolled out to turn the very challenging situation around are beginning to yield fruit. They are beginning to yield fruit. You find that, and I said this in my presentation, that a lot of the rating agencies have rated Nigeria positive. They've moved from being stable to positive. And that is a very, very good sign indeed. In addition to that, is also the issue of
Order, please, order.
The governor must be heard in silence so that we can, establish if he's addressing our issues or not. Please, let's not interrupt him, please, as distinguished colleagues.
And also, I mentioned the issue of the volume of transactions. And I think a lot of the questions have been directed at the concern, rightly too, of the liquidity of the foreign exchange market. The liquidity of the foreign exchange market for quite a while has been less than satisfactory, as a result of which the central bank has rolled out certain policies to ease that. That includes the need for the banks to maintain less of an open position or no position in certain circumstances. It has also included the whole issue of IMTOs having access to a free, transparent market whereby the volume of transactions that used to go to other places now goes officially within the system. So that and a whole host of other measures to ensure that we have transparency in that market and increase the volume of transactions that go through, which a number of questions have tried to find answers to. We are happy, as I said, to inform you that $844 million was the volume of transactions that were done as at the close of business yesterday. This is the first time in a very long time that we've had those volume of transactions. Who the beneficiaries are, I don't know, because it's not, it doesn't come from the central bank. And this is a good news, quite frankly. It's good news that there's sufficient enough investor confidence returning back to the market for people to feel comfortable to do that volume of transactions. That's the good news. So I think it's something that we should be pleased about, and it's something that we expect will continue to get better as the reform process continues to gather steam. A question was asked with respect to NNPC's money coming in. Has the NNPC's money come in? And the answer to that is the NNPC has commenced the process of moving the accounts and opening accounts with the central bank, and that process continues very positively. So the answer to that is yes. Now, I said something, again, maybe I should restate it a bit. With respect to medical and education, I'm not by any means casting any aspersion on anything or any business segment. I'm not. Basically, what I was saying is I felt it was necessary for us all to understand what the nature of the contributions towards limited dollar inflows and great dollar outflows were. One of the great dollar outflows over the recent past has been medical and education and a whole host of others. But all I was trying to illustrate is that we also need to have an attitudinal shift. That attitudinal shift to start to benefit our local economy, whereby we buy locally and we patronize local production. Because if we do not put these numbers into the context I gave you, that the importance of this may be lost. And basically what I was saying is that within a certain period of time, between spending on medical and education in overseas countries, the amount spent, which was estimated at about 40 billion US dollars, was equivalent to our reserves. And that's shocking, to be quite honest. That is very shocking. And I think these are things that we all need to just take a look and think about how we can benefit and strengthen the naira from having more local production and using the local alternatives that we may have. So that is a wake-up call, as far as I can see. It's a wake-up call. Inflation, naturally, a constantly recurring theme everywhere, and understandably, we're all very concerned, and I know that honorable members having very, very strong connections with their constituents must be inundated with worries and calls. That is what one would expect. And just to say here that, because it's important at this stage, again, in my view, to ask ourselves, to just take a look and ask ourselves, how did we get here? And I think some of those questions have also been posed by some that raise these concerns. How did we get to where we are? A situation where inflation has spiraled the way it is, etc., etc. Now, part of that, as I'm sure we all know, is money supply. As long as we have...
Excuse me, Governor, please. I just want to interject there.
Yes.
When you were addressing the issue of inflation, Nigerians would like to know more, because as of December 2023, we were at 28.9%. I think 28.92%. And this is significantly impacting on Nigeria's purchasing power and economic well-being. And you know, cost push factors dominate. High energy costs, transportation costs, decline in agricultural productivity due to insecurity, and exchange rate fluctuation. You will agree with me that if the members here are thinking in this direction, they are right, that there is an over-reliance on monetary policy through increasing the MPR, monetary policy rate. And if we continue in that trajectory, there is this risk that there will be further economic slowdown and debt accumulation. So what is worrying these members is that, given the limitation of these various monetary policies in addressing this cost push inflation, what other alternatives or complementary strategies is the CBN considering to combat the inflation? In specific terms, they want to hear that. And whether there are plans to adjust the current monetary policy rate strategy in line with the prevailing economic situation. This is some of the things they are trying to capture in the varieties of the questions that they are asking around inflation. So let's hear specifically. Nigerians want to know what measures.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think it's important to say that monetary policy tools can only take us so far. The idea is not to rely on monetary policy tools. Monetary policy tools have a way of moderating a situation where the macroeconomic variables are getting imbalanced. The monetary policy tools on their own are not sufficient, and neither should they be considered as long-term to be reliant on. They cannot be. They help a situation stabilize, but ultimately it requires the work of the fiscal. And that is why it is so important that both the fiscal and the monetary must work hand in hand. We have absolutely no doubt in our minds that the monetary doing it all on its own will not work. We have no doubt about that. So let me be very clear on that. That's not the idea. The idea is to at least be able to buy time and give relief to the system while the other inefficiencies or things that are not working as effectively as they should now kick in.
So is there collaboration with you and the Minister of Finance in seeing that fiscal and monetary policies align in tackling this inflation? Is it there?
Yes, it is. And for the avoidance of doubt, because this is very important, I know many times the question is asked about the relationship between the Ministry of Finance and the central bank, which is very important. And to answer that question before I say something else, we already have joint committees that meet on a very, very regular basis to look at these issues in a harmonized manner. That's one. Some of you.
Honorable colleagues, this is a dignified, sacred house. You should allow the minister to answer the questions, please. The governor, please. The governor.
So we already have committees that work very, very close together to harmonize positions that are being taken. And of course, on the board of the central bank, there's strong representation from the fiscal side. So we ensure that at all times that collaboration is in check and is working smoothly. And where I was going to was, apart from the Ministry of Finance, it is also important that the central bank collaborates with other entities of government. Okay, for example, now we spoke about the NMPC, that NMPC moving its accounts towards the central bank also makes for greater collaboration between the two. And Mr. President's directive that all MDAs should have their accounts with the central bank, I think also speaks volumes of the kind of collaboration that is anticipated between the two. So that, I believe, is something that we're looking to strengthen. And I'm sure that the Minister of Finance will say something more about that from his perspective. But that's definitely an area that we are all very, very, we all do what we can to ensure it works smoothly. Then, in another issue that came up was the issue of development finance. And the question was, or the observation was, that the use of development finance has brought stability, especially in the agriculture sector in the past. And would the central bank be looking at reforming this or not? And the answer to that is yes. We are of the opinion that the central bank will not be involved in direct interventions. We have nothing against interventions, but we will not be involved in direct interventions. The idea is to partner, and where we have institutions that can do it effectively, judiciously, we support them. The point is that Nigeria cannot afford failed interventions. And we as central bank do not have the capacity to engage in what will ultimately lead in failed interventions. Our focus is inflation management, price stability. And that is why we have taken the view that we will de-emphasize these other issues that do not take the final goal of price stability and lead us there. We must. So for that reason, we've refocused our whole efforts to ensure that we live and sleep on the issue of price.
So are you giving any hope to Nigerians today with regards to the dollars? To the dollars exchange rate?
The exchange rate? Yes. I think to be okay. Back to the issue. The main issue has been liquidity. I think we all know this. There's been very little liquidity in the market. We took certain measures to bring liquidity back into the market, both with banks and non-bank actors. We did that. And the result of that is already showing. You see, the mere fact that I said that liquidity has gone up to $844 million as at yesterday is testimony to that. And I'm confident that we are headed in the right direction, and these things will moderate and find their own level. The distortions in the foreign exchange market over a period of time has created, in my view, an artificially high rate. And now that we've removed most of those distortions, you see a situation where those who stayed out of the market are now coming back in, and the concept of willing buyer and willing seller is beginning to realize the objectives as they were set out for in the first place. So I have no doubt in my mind that on the foreign exchange side, we are headed in the right direction. I have no doubt about that in my mind.
I like the conviction on your face. Yeah. You're very sure what you're saying. That is what Nigerians need to see. And let me ask you, why is it that you've not initiated the engagement with the parliament as allowed by the CBN Act? You see why they are raising all their hands?
Yes.
It's because they have piled questions that have been unanswered because of that lack of engagement. Yes. Are you planning to activate that part of the Act to periodically engage with the House to update them on what you are doing so that they will be carried along?
Yes. No, and to be frank, this is Mr. Speaker, this is an excellent observation. Let me say something though. This has been a particularly difficult few months where we had to really double down and understand what was going on, some of which is very complicated, and we had to take our time to unbundle a lot of things and try certain things, discard others, and some of the circulars that we brought out a number of circulars in the past week.
He's answering the question as to whether he will be interacting with you as allowed by the CBN Act. It is important that we hear him, honorable colleagues, please. Thank you.
And some of the circulars that we have brought out, they take a lot of time to come to a final stage, a lot of time. So there was not, put in one form, a lot of work has been work in progress. It has been work in progress. Now we have rolled them out, and we are very happy for the opportunity to be able to come and explain to the House how far we have gone and what the future pertains is. And as I said, to emphasize again, I'm very, very positive of the future in the foreign exchange market for Nigeria. And going forward, we will definitely use this opportunity to engage a lot better. And it's very important because our monetary policy committee, for example, our monetary policy, it is important to be able to communicate to the outside world what we are doing. And in that process, the House of Rep is a very critical voice that will be like an interlocutor between us and the people out in the constituencies. We recognize that, and we will do everything possible to make use of this particular body.
Thank you very much. There's a question that you have not addressed from Ali Madaki. He said there have been other CBN governors.
Yeah.
that you came and you are taking some part of the headquarters to Lagos. Is it a politically influenced decision or cost effectiveness strategic action?
Sure.
That people need to hear it. What is it about?
Yes.
Is it political so that they can educate their constituents?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. To answer, quite frankly, nothing political about it. Let me be upfront about that. Absolutely nothing political about it. The central bank has branches all over the country. It has branches in every single state of the Federation. And there's a need to calibrate strengths and resources between the various parts of the Federation. That's basically it. In certain parts, and it's the same in the United States, absolutely no different. Where you are getting information and statistics in one part of the country, it is good to have people who have the skills and are bringing in the results for the bank. So this is a tool whereby we're able to rebalance our skills around the country.
What specific departments are you moving to Lagos?
I'll tell you. In the case,
members, you have been so dignified in the way you have interacted with them. Let us not spoil it at this end of our engagement. You've been so dignifying. Your conduct, your speeches, let us carry it like that as, honorable members. And I know we can do this. And you have done it so far. We're only running up in a few minutes. Let us sustain it till the end. Thank you very much. And I'm proud of you.
Yeah, again, I would say that, and I will just remind, this is not, we didn't change any plan. It's always been like this. We didn't touch any plan. All we have done is implement what is there. For example, because you asked the question now, for example, our banking supervision department, okay, much of that is based in Lagos by virtue of the fact that the banks are in Lagos. Like now, we had a situation where there's need to increase the surveillance on the banking system, especially at a time like this. And it is just appropriate that the banking supervision department is close to where the banking system is. And it works very well, extremely well. For example, I can tell you that I flew out to Lagos just for one day yesterday to talk to the banking supervision department as they were about to commence the process of visiting the banks and give them a pep talk as to the things to bear in mind as they commence that process. And to be honest, I think in terms of relationships, it also works very well because where they are closer to the banks, they get to hear what is going on, they can interact with others that interact with those banks and be better for it. So from that perspective, I think that explains that.
So that is on the basis of efficiency, yeah?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
All right.
It's cheaper. And it's cheaper.
All right. No point of order when he's speaking. We have a guest. It's not your standard plenary section. We have a guest. No point of order when the guest is addressing us. So round up, Honorable Governor, please.
Okay. Well, I think
you've touched on all the issues.
Yes, I think there was an issue of dollar. Well, that's been. There's a very important issue that came up, which may slightly relate to what I just said. Why is central bank reluctant to wield the big stick on banks? I want to assure you that I have no reluctance to wield the big stick on any body that we regulate. I have none. I have absolutely none. This is the time when people and entities that we regulate must comply. They must do the right thing. And we will stop at nothing in wielding the big hammer, the big stick, whatever we want to call it, but ensuring that they do the right thing and that they work in the interests of Nigeria.
So what you are saying is that the unreasonable deductions will be stopped?
Unreasonable deductions.
From the account, that's the question they asked.
No.
They said Sunday deduction.
Yes.
Gentleman, an honorable colleague asked the question here.
Yes.
Sunday deduction, that was the word he used. Yeah, yes. That is Honorable Essien.
No, you did.
Are you saying if they are unreasonable deduction that the central bank is going to see that will stop that?
Definitely.
Nigerians would like to hear that.
No, definitely. There's a process, and once it's brought to our attention, we investigate it, and we will come down on any of the erring banks. We are definitely going to do that. In fact, some of our departments in the central bank are being strengthened to be able to carry out greater surveillance and oversight on the banks.
Thank you. I think we'll leave it at that. Governor of the central bank. Thank you very much. He missed out something? Use your mic. I want to hear you. He missed out something?
On the lifting of foreign exchange restriction.
Oh, yes.
Imposed by the previous administration in order to improve local production, but suddenly they lifted it, and I don't know who is going to give this middlemen, I'll call them middlemen because we know them, to import cement that BOA is doing, Dangote is doing, and we are a net exporter of cement in this country. And then we are given foreign exchange to people to import cement and meat and poultry. Of course, it is here.
Okay. I think the summary of what Honorable Sada is saying.
So
what measures are being taken to address exchange rate volatility and its impact on imported inflation? Are we importing inflation by that particular act?
Well,
address it the way you feel comfortable.
Yes. No. I think the first thing that I would say, and I think it's very...
Order, please. Order in the House.
I think it's very important to understand that central bank does not have responsibility to determine who imports and who does not import. It's not our remit. It is not. And for that reason, we want to ensure that we abide by our remit. Okay, and if there's an issue with respect to who can import and who can't import, those are all trade issues. They do not. It's not for us to now say.
I think it's not more of who can import. What should be imported and what should not. I think that's what Honorable Sada is.
Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking from the strength. I'm speaking from the strength of knowledge. This is from the CBN website. This is purely from the CBN website. They lifted what we are talking about, giving foreign exchange to importers, which the previous government came and met and they said no, they will not give. And then this government or this CBN lifted that restriction. What we want to understand, or Nigerians want to understand, are these people coming through the CBN to get foreign exchange to import these things that you have lifted? I'm not talking about the trade. I'm talking about foreign exchange sourcing. What is the rationale? What is the rationale by lifting this foreign exchange?
Yes. If I can answer. that is a fiscal issue. It has nothing to do with us. So all I was trying to explain, and I'm sure that the Minister of Finance will talk more about it, all I was trying to explain was that we were going back to doing what we are meant to do. Finish. Nothing more.
Okay, so you just publish what you were given. You publish it based on what the fiscal policy reflected. Because you are throwing it back to the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
That is a policy from...
No, Mr. Speaker. Anything to do with preventing somebody from trading in any form is for the fiscal to worry about. It is not for us to do their job. It's not. It's wrong for us to have said 41 items are banned. It's wrong.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. You see, that was why we said there must be collaboration if we are going to align monetary policy and fiscal policy to fight inflation.
Yes.
So if you see that there's a fiscal policy that is not going in the right direction, you cannot just say, oh, that is what they gave to us, we'll work with it.
No.
You can also go to them and say, in a joint committee,
yes,
we don't think that this is the right decision,
yes,
because you are collaborating efficiently. That was why I raised that question. I think enough about that. I think you've covered all the grounds, right? Yes. Thank you very much. You can take your seat. Thank you.
There is a question that has not been answered, sir.
Which one is that?
Very good. A question asked by Honorable Ismail Dabo from Bauchi, that people stocked dollars, and to the extent that if $1 trillion can be pumped in Nigerians market today, in the next few months, it will disappear. CBN governor need to explain which measures have they been put
on corruption.
On corruption, sir. To a layman, somebody just put it to me, is a very crude and radical approach. But if at all is going to be possible, it's going to take Nigeria and other developing countries of the world out of this siege. For instance, now, the essence of changing currency is to control monetary policies and transactions in between countries. If today US can just make a pronouncement that we are going to change the color of dollar, everybody is going to bring out his dollar. This is a crude way of doing it. Nigeria today needs a drastic measures to take us out of the current situation. Long-term issues. The long-term issues, sir. The long-term measures is that Nigeria must do everything possible to encourage local production, particularly in the area of mining, agriculture, and other non-related areas. 1. 2.
They mention it. They mention it.
Very good.
They have mentioned it. The budget mentioned it.
That is very good. 2, sir.
Excuse me, Honorable Jaha. If there was a question he missed and it borders on corruption, let him just tell us if there are things they are doing. But you don't expect them to say everything about their strategy to catch those who are corrupt openly here. Because if they say it openly, these other people who want to play in that dirty waters will adapt and shift their strategy. So there are ones that they will keep to themselves, but I want him to answer that something is being done or something is not being done about corruption. Over to you. That is your last question. That is his last question, please. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Every other question, you reserve it for the second section when we'll invite them again, please. Go ahead. Wait.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just to confirm that there's collaboration between the Ministry of Finance, EFCC, and the Central Bank.
Thank you. He says there is a collaboration between EFCC, Finance, and Central Bank. So the issue of corruption, they are working together in that joint committee. That's the answer. Thank you. You can take your seats. Unfortunately...
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.